Imagine a seasoned American trucker landing in Tokyo with his 18-wheeler. He's spent decades crossing the states from coast to coast, commanding 53-foot steel monsters. He knows every interstate, every rest stop, and every sweeping curve of the Great Plains. Now we drop him right in front of a Tokyo residential street barely 8 feet wide, with power lines hanging at roof level, a sharp 90-degree turn, and a traffic light that looks like it was designed for bicycles. In a matter of seconds, that trucker would realize exactly why Japanese trucks are unlike anything else on Earth. Today we're diving into the world of Japanese heavy transport, a world where engineering, culture, and geography collide to produce machines that look like they're from another dimension. From compact K-trucks navigating impossible neighborhoods to the giants hauling loads across mountain expressways, we'll explore the surprising facts of an industry that literally moves the most punctual country on the planet. Stick around until the end, because what you're about to discover will forever change the way you look at a truck. To understand why Japanese trucks are built this way, you first have to understand the land itself. Japan is an archipelago of 6,852 islands, though 97% of the population is packed into the 4 main ones: Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku, and the total land area is about 146,000 square miles, roughly the size of California. But here's the kicker. Over 125 million people live in that space. That creates staggering density. Tokyo proper has over 9 million residents, and if you count the greater metropolitan area, you're looking at over 37 million people, the largest urban sprawl in the world. To put that in perspective, the New York City metro area has about 20 million. Tokyo is nearly double that size. And now add another factor. Over 70% of Japan is mountainous. We're not talking rolling hills, but rugged mountain ranges with steep grades, constant tunnels, and roads that wind for miles along ravines and cliffs. This means habitable space is extremely limited. Cities, towns, and infrastructure are squeezed into valleys and coastal plains wedged between the mountains and the sea. The result is a road network completely different from Europe or America. Many Japanese city streets were laid out centuries ago, back when the biggest vehicle on the road was an ox cart. They were never intended for trucks. Unlike the West, where entire neighborhoods were often leveled to build urban highways, Japan chose to adapt the vehicles to the environment, not the environment to the vehicles. An 8-foot-wide street isn't just an abstract statistic. It's the daily reality for delivery drivers and truckers in thousands of Japanese neighborhoods. For context, a standard European or American truck is about 8 to 8.5 feet wide. The vehicle alone would take up the entire street, leaving zero margin for anyone else to pass. This is why Japanese delivery trucks are notably narrower and shorter than those in any other developed nation. But width isn't the only hurdle. Intersections in residential areas are often tight right angles with buildings sitting right on the sidewalk line. A truck with a wide turning radius physically cannot make the turn, and it would have to shuffle forward and back repeatedly just to clear a corner, all while the clock is ticking and neighbors are watching from their windows. This pressure led to solutions that simply didn't exist in the West. For decades, medium-duty Japanese trucks have turning circles that seem impossible for their size. There are models that can whip around in spaces a Toyota Corolla would find challenging. It's not magic. It's engineering applied to a very specific pain point. Height is another factor. Low bridges, train overpasses, and low-hanging utility lines in old districts force trucks to sit lower than their European counterparts. In Japan, it's common to see trucks with cab roofs barely hitting 9 or 10 feet, whereas a modern European rig can easily reach 13 feet. So why don't we see American-style tractor-trailers in Japan? This is one of the most common questions from transport enthusiasts. Why no massive semis? But the short answer, it would be a practical and legal disaster. In the US, a standard semi-trailer is 53 feet long, and some states allow LVCs, or double trailer combinations, reaching over 80 feet. They cruise wide-open interstates at 65 or 70 miles per hour. Cities have massive distribution hubs on the outskirts, and the last mile is handled by smaller box trucks. In Japan, the law dictates that a semi-trailer cannot exceed 16.5 meters, about 54 feet, on the expressway. And a rigid truck with a full trailer can reach 18 meters, but only on specific routes with special permits. In urban areas, the limit drops to 12 meters, 39 feet in length, and 2.5 meters in width. Anything larger requires special authorization and simply cannot enter many streets. Beyond the law, there's a fundamental cultural and logistical factor. Japan's distribution model is on another level. They have the most efficient delivery system in the world. Courier companies offer 2-hour delivery windows, and if you aren't home, they'll reschedule for whenever you say. This requires trucks that can reach any front door, including those down impossible alleys, in cities never meant for heavy traffic. If you're finding this fascinating, hit that like button right now. It really helps us keep bringing you these deep dives. The Japanese truck market is almost entirely dominated by 4 domestic manufacturers. Though these names might not ring as many bells in the West as Volvo or Mercedes, but in Japan, they are everywhere. First is Hino, part of the Toyota Group. Founded in 1942, Hino is the top-selling brand for medium and heavy-duty trucks in Japan. Their most famous models include the Ranger for urban use and the Profia for long hauls. Hino also exports to dozens of countries across Asia and Latin America where their bulletproof reliability is legendary. Second is Isuzu, another historic brand producing trucks since the 1930s. Isuzu holds a massive market share in the light and medium segments. Their ELF truck is likely the most common delivery vehicle in Japan, the Japanese equivalent of the Mercedes Sprinter or the Ford Transit. Isuzu also builds diesel engines that power trucks for other brands worldwide. Third is Fuso, a brand under the Mitsubishi umbrella that has been part of the Daimler Mercedes-Benz corporate structure since 2003. Fuso is best known for the Canter, a light truck that has become an icon of urban delivery across Asia. Interestingly, Fuso was a pioneer in electric urban trucks, launching EV versions of the Canter years before the trend took off in Europe. Fourth is UD Trucks, formerly known as Nissan Diesel and now owned by the Volvo Group. UD specializes in heavy-duty long-haul trucks and has a strong presence in Asia, Africa, and Australia. And the blend of Swedish engineering and Japanese manufacturing has resulted in high reliability vehicles that go toe-to-toe with European rigs in the long-distance segment. The natural question is, if Volvo and Daimler own or partner with Japanese brands, why don't they just sell their European models in Japan? There are a few layers to that. First, European models are designed for wide roads and high speeds. A Volvo FH or a Mercedes Actros is a beast on the Autobahn. But its dimensions and architecture aren't built for 8-foot streets or neighborhoods where even a modern family car struggles to fit. Second, maintenance and parts for European brands are much more expensive and harder to find in Japan. A Japanese trucker who breaks down needs a part delivered and installed in hours. With a local brand, that's easy. With an imported Scania, it can become a logistical nightmare. Third, there is a strong cultural preference for domestic products. Japanese owners trust local manufacturers who know the terrain and have spent decades refining their designs based on driver feedback. That said, you will see a limited number of European trucks in Japan, mostly at major ports and logistics hubs where roads are wider. In the port of Yokohama or the industrial zones of Kawasaki, you might spot a few Volvos or Scanias handling heavy container transport. And this brings us to one of the coolest parts of Japanese trucks: the technical fixes for problems that barely exist elsewhere. The most striking is the active rear steering system. On a long, rigid truck, rear axles are usually fixed. This means when the truck turns, the rear tires don't follow the front path. They cut the corner. The Japanese developed rear axles that can actually turn, controlled electronically. The system detects the steering wheel angle and speed, and then adjusts the rear wheels to minimize the turning radius. The result is a 40-foot truck that can navigate corners that would stump a standard European equivalent. While this tech exists elsewhere, nowhere else is it used so systematically across a standard fleet. Another example is the cab-over-engine, COE design. The driver sits directly on top of the engine, eliminating the hood. This makes the vehicle much shorter while maintaining the same cargo capacity. While COEs are common in Europe, they are the absolute rule in Japan, especially for urban and medium-duty work. If there's one thing Japan doesn't mess around with, it's regulation. The maximum speed for a heavy truck on a Japanese expressway is 80 kilometers per hour, about 50 miles per hour. In the US, a semi can legally hit 65 or 70 miles per hour. In Germany, while the trucks are capped at 80 kilometers per hour, the pressure from cars flying by at 120 miles per hour creates a very different vibe. On local Japanese roads, the limit for heavy trucks is between 25 and 37 miles per hour. And these aren't suggestions. Japanese trucks are equipped with electronic speed limiters that physically prevent the driver from speeding. It's a technical imposition. Weight is also strictly monitored. The maximum axle weight is 10 tons for single axles, similar to Europe but with much more frequent checkpoints. On some mountain roads, the total vehicle weight limit drops significantly, regardless of how many axles you have. Routes are meticulously categorized. There are first-class roads, second-class roads, and special heavy vehicle routes. A truck exceeding a certain size or weight needs a pre-authorized route, and deviating from that path can result in heavy fines. You can't talk about Japanese trucks without talking about Japanese logistics. The vehicles are just one part of a highly sophisticated machine. Japan operates on just-in-time delivery, a philosophy pioneered by Toyota in the 50s. Parts and products arrive exactly when they are needed. No sooner, no later. This means warehouses stay small, and trucks must be incredibly frequent and punctual. The urban distribution system relies on cross-docking centers. Large trucks bring goods from factories to these hubs where they are immediately sorted and loaded onto small trucks for the final leg. This separation between long haul and the last mile allows for vehicles optimized for each specific task. Courier giants like Yamato Transport, known as Kuroneko or Black Cat, and Sagawa Express handle volumes that are hard to wrap your head around. Yamato alone delivers over 1.8 billion packages a year, over 5 million a day. Every driver has a fixed route and often knows the neighbors by name. This level of service is only possible because the trucks are perfectly tailored to the urban environment. Well, if you want to keep learning incredible facts like these about transport and engineering around the world, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Being a trucker in Japan is nothing like the outlaw image of the American trucker. It's a profession defined by precision, discipline, and a deep sense of responsibility. Let's talk about the schedule. In the US, an over-the-road trucker might spend weeks living in their sleeper cab. In Japan, most trips are out and back on the same day. The country is small enough that logistics are organized, so drivers can go home every night. This is why you rarely see those massive sleeper berths on Japanese rigs. The pay averages around 4.7 million yen a year, roughly $33,000. That might sound low compared to the $50,000 to $70,000 average in the States. But you have to consider the shorter trips, no nomadic lifestyle, and robust social benefits like healthcare and pensions. The oversight is constant. The Japanese trucks are fitted with drive recorders, cameras that monitor both the road and the driver. GPS reports real-time location, speed, and even hard braking. Before and after every shift, Drivers must pass a mandatory breathalyzer test that automatically uploads the result to the company database. One cultural aspect that blows Westerners' minds is the cleanliness. It is practically impossible to find a dirty, dented, or neglected truck in Japan. Transport companies view their fleet as a direct reflection of their corporate image. A clean truck equals a reliable company, and drivers take immense pride in keeping their rigs spotless. Japan doesn't just do functional, it does flashy. The most famous example is Dekotora, short for decoration truck. These are working trucks, usually long haulers, that owners deck out with hundreds of LEDs, chrome plating, elaborate murals, and massive speakers. As some look like arcade machines or spaceships rolling down the highway. This tradition started in the 70s, inspired by the hit movie series Toraku Yaro. Owners spend thousands, sometimes years' worth of salary on these rolling works of art. Then there are the food trucks, not the taco truck style you see in LA, but mobile yakitori or ramen stands that set up on specific corners. These are often fully equipped miniature restaurants, with tables and chairs that literally fold out of the truck. The Japanese transport world is in the middle of a massive shift. Between environmental pressure and a shrinking workforce, the next decade will look very different. Since most Japanese trucks are urban or medium haul, they are perfect candidates for electrification. Yamato Transport has already committed to going fully electric for its last-mile fleet by 2030. Hydrogen is also a big player. Toyota and Hino are betting heavy on fuel cells for long-distance rigs. Hydrogen offers fast refueling and longer range than batteries, a solid solution for a country that demands absolute reliability. Connectivity is the final piece. Modern Japanese trucks are essentially smart devices. They transmit real-time data to control centers, receive traffic-optimized routing, and are integrated into fleet management systems that squeeze efficiency out of every drop of fuel. We've reached the end of our journey through the world of Japanese transport, and what we've seen isn't just a collection of weird trucks. It's the portrait of a society that turned a limitation, lack of space, into a competitive advantage. Japan doesn't have the biggest trucks or the fastest ones, but it has the most adapted ones. Every steerable axle, every cab-over design, and every driver who knows his route by heart is the result of decades of Kaizen, the philosophy of continuous improvement. In a world where urban logistics are getting more crowded and complex, the Japanese model is no longer a curiosity, it's a blueprint. Western cities are now looking to Japan to learn how to move goods in dense areas without paralyzing traffic. What seemed small turned out to be smart. And what seemed impossible on an 8-foot street turned out to be exactly the solution the world needs. If you enjoyed this trip through the land of logic-defying trucks, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves engineering or anything Japan. See you in the next one. Would you like me to create a summary table of the key differences between American and Japanese trucks mentioned in the script?